Welcome to the Love Inspired Leadership Podcast. I'm so glad you're here. And I am your host, Carolyn Cooper. And today we're diving deep into the tender but vital conversation, the one that sits at the very heart of courageous leadership, real, authentic connection and transformation. I am honored to introduce to you Elizabeth Bennett. And Elizabeth is a beacon for trusted communication. And she's here to help us illuminate the hidden cost of silence in our businesses, in our relationships with our families, and in the lives that matter most to us, and how courageous, love-inspired dialogue can become the foundation for healing, growth, as well as legacy. Elizabeth, this topic, I'm excited. So thank you for saying yes to come on to my Love Inspired Leadership Podcast.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I'm delighted to be here.
Fantastic. So my first question is this. So what called you into this world of courageous conversations? And what was there a turning point or really a moment in time that changed the course of your life and your leadership around this understanding, purpose, and passion that you now live?
Well, I'll try to keep it short, Carolyn, because I could talk about this topic all day. So I came from the field of education. I retired several years ago as a school principal. And when I was having conversations with kids throughout the years, whether I was teaching or coaching or being in administration, they would often tell me that they didn't feel valued, they didn't feel heard, they didn't feel understood. They didn't even know if they had a purpose, and they didn't know quite what to do with it or how to deal with it. And the same thing was happening in their homes. They would be in a situation where they didn't know how to express themselves, or they weren't allowed to, because I was certainly born a few minutes ago, and that was the place that I was told about was children should be seen and not heard. Money doesn't grow on trees. Don't cry or I'll give you something to cry about. However, having been in that field for so long, a lot of those kids are now in business and industry. And similar things are happening there. They don't feel heard. They don't feel valued. They don't feel understood. Or the other piece of that is bullying is rampant. Mental health concerns are through the roof. And social isolation is on the increase in both of those spaces.
Agreed.
So what I felt was important to do was to, as I was finishing my career in the classroom and in school, I wrote a book called Courageous Conversations, a guide for parents to understand and connect with their teens.
Beautiful.
And then I thought, okay, well, that's focusing on one area. So I go to schools from time to time, or I go to conventions or so on and speak with teachers and have those conversations. And then I thought, I think I need to do this in another area. So I'm finishing my book called, and I'm not sure this is going to be the final title, but for the moment, it's Courageous Conversations in the Workplace. Because I'm beginning to believe, looking at the politics in my own country and the U.S., I come from Canada, and the U.S. and the world, we are incredibly positional. And we have a collective PhD in avoidance, avoiding conversation, avoiding listening.
Wait, can we pause? Did you hear that? Collective PhD in avoidance?
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Stop, pause, take it, write it down. Are you a part of that educational world? The collective PhD of avoidance? That's so good. That's so powerful. Okay, continue on. I just wanted to mark that moment because that is powerful. And I think it's a ailment, a disease, and a debilitating, dangerous PhD to have personally. But you keep going.
Well, because the piece that I've noticed, and certainly in the government in the province that I live in, and out in the U.S. and in other places of the world that we're seeing chaos and destruction, people have become incredibly positional. And they think that their way is the only way, and it is a way of doing business. Maybe not the right way, but, having said all that, it's a way. Right. And so what I try to do when I have conversation with people is to be able to guide them into invitation to conversation. Because oftentimes when I chat with people, they say to me, well, I don't like conflict, or I don't like confrontation. Well, it doesn't need to be confrontation. It needs to be an invitation. And so that way, one of the 5 strategies of dedicated listening that I talk about, particularly, with parents and also in workplaces, is that we need to understanding versus judgment. So we need to be able to understand where the other person is coming from. Because in schools, lots of times, and that was the place, obviously, I spent a great deal of time, behavior is a form of communication. So rather than reacting to the situation, it might be better served for us to respond to it and say, well, if your kid comes in at the end of the day, as an example, and they throw their backpack and they stomp off to their room and they've got their hoodie up and their earbuds in and their cell phone out, you might want to find out what's going on, right? But one of 2 things typically happen. Why did you throw your backpack? Or, what happened today that made you have to do that? So that's the invitation.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. And I want the listeners to write that down. So what can I do to be curious about how this can be an invitation for compassion? Because that's what I hear you saying, Elizabeth. And, communication is so important in relationships. Parents just want to have a loving relationship with their kids. They just want to be the love-inspired leaders of their family. Corporately, these leaders within the organizations just want people to be loyal, to enjoy what they do, to be productive, to be a part of the vision, the direction, the purpose of this company. And if people feel alone, like you said, and isolated in both those situations, is when things become out of control and unmanageable and toxic. And there are consequences to not making a decision as a leader, parent, whatever role you play is what you're saying, is to look at an alternative. Take a breath. Don't react. Just take a breath. Just pause. What's more important, being right or being in this relationship that matters? I mean, that's what you're saying, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Because what oftentimes people in business and industry don't get, and I'm just being general at the moment,
yes,
but if we're looking for productivity to increase and we're looking for product and profitability to increase, then we need to value the people who do the job. Mm-hmm. And if we don't do that, then one of 2 things happens. If that person doesn't feel valued, they don't feel acknowledged, and it's not like we have to be therapists, but if they don't feel acknowledged, if they don't feel valued, if they don't feel like what they're doing is even contributing to anything, then one of 2 things happens when they go home, and this becomes the full circle. The first person who doesn't feel valued or so on, if they have a family who loves them up, then they're going to, they're going to play and they're going to spend money and they're going to go back to work so that they can go home and play. But here's the other side of this. That person doesn't feel valued. They don't feel heard. They're frustrated. They're angry. They're upset. They're annoyed. They're whatever, right? They take that home. And here's some of the challenges that happen there. Increased alcoholism, increased drug abuse, increased domestic violence, increased the other number of things. And then they leave that family in that wake. Well, I came from that, so I know it to be true. And I know it's even worse now.
Well,
because we've been talking about it more, so we know that it's out there.
Well, the conversations are happening now. Thank you, God,
yes.
personally. And it also affects the mental health of the entire family.
Yep.
And it's generational. So when that impacts children in a family with a parent coming home in that state, it affects the contributions, the way those young kids grow up to be adults, like you just said, and how are they going to contribute in their role in society, in whatever role that they choose. And these are the conversations that I think are mandatory to have. And there is so many people, I mean, this is part of my mission, bringing love-inspired leadership everywhere, is that there's so many people suffering when they don't need to. They just, there's too much of that going on right now everywhere in the world, and not on my watch.
Nor mine.
No choice. No way.
I'm with you on that one.
No how. Listen, when we are, gifted with these tools, strategies, protocols, practices, ways in which we can deal with challenging situations, I think those are gifts to the world. And I commend you for stepping up and standing out to share this particular concept, because I think way too many people, including people that I care for deeply in my life, avoid conflict at all costs. And it's costing them their life. I can see it in their health, because your health declines too. I will just say, your physical health, not just mental, your physical health declines too when we don't live our best life yet. There's this position, I'd love to know the answer to this one. There's this position that is courageous to change. We know that we are not functioning in our top form when we're reacting. Let's be real here to the audience. You know when you are. You know when you go down that other path and you think, I shouldn't have said that. Oof, ouch. That's a bee sting. Ooh. Yet there's a certain time, I think, that we get to a place that we say, you know what? I'm going to be accountable. I'm going to be responsible for my conversations and my relationships. So what would you say is, a nugget, a piece of wisdom that can support this audience to recalibrate and redecide that the people they care about in their life are the most important, and that to take on the ownership of changing who they are first, not blame and resent, but just to take that on. I mean, what would you recommend?
Exactly what you're saying. So when I have these conversations with folks, I have them take a look here to be responsible for themselves first, right? To acknowledge that they have said the wrong thing, made the wrong decision, or so on. Because what we need to understand is we all have a background. We can call it trauma, we can call it experience, we can call it whatever. But some of that shows up in how we speak with each other and how we listen and how we engage and so on. And each of us have it, right? Those are filters that we have. But we need to be able to say, oh my God, or whatever we're going to say, to take a look over here to say, you know what, Carolyn, I'm sorry that I said that. I recognize for myself that that wasn't the smartest thing. I see it, and I'm sorry for what I said. And I recognize that it probably had an impact on you too.
Oh, that's good.
So
say that again. Say that again. No, repeat that last phrase. I want our audience to get that, because that's the piece that's really significant here.
Well, and that's the piece that brings them back to invitation to conversation, is to say that I recognize that this had an impact on you too.
So a big part of this my journey has been self-forgiveness and compassion for self. So forgiveness is a big piece of this, isn't it?
It certainly is. Yep.
Thank goodness.
And whether it's with a child or your partner or a colleague at work, it's to recognize that that's happened and to take that breath and to stop for a moment and to recognize, okay, I can't believe that came out of my mouth, or I'm so sorry. I was angry about something else, and I recognize that it's not about you, but I want you to hear that I'm sorry for how this showed up or what I said or whatever, so that I'm taking personal responsibility first. And then I want to acknowledge you and acknowledge the idea that I know that it had an impact. Whether it made you angry or upset or hurt your feelings or whatever it did. And then becomes the invitation. I recognize that this is what I did right now, and what can we do together to make things different?
Together.
That's right. So if you're chatting with one of your children, how can we work on this as best as we can for it not to happen again? Right? Because we all know that things happen more than once, but inviting them into that conversation. And the same thing in a workplace. If you yelled at a colleague because you had a flat tire in the morning, or because, somebody cut you off in traffic and you're coming in and your hair is on fire, then when you take it out on them and it's like, I'm so sorry. I was, we got up late. I had a flat tire. Somebody cut in front of me. I know our proposal is due in an hour, and I wasn't here early this morning. I get all that. And I get that it has an impact on you.
So that's the significant piece that I want people to take away here, is to take responsibility yourself and release the blame. So I have a process in my 6-step aim high system, activating your inspired mindset. And it's thinking above the line versus below the line. Below the line is making a decision to be resentful, to blame, to have judgment, to have criticism. And that's energy draining, and there's no connection there. And when we're above the line, when we're curious, when we're open, when we're compassionate, when we're kind with ourselves and other people, which is what you're speaking of. And that is to think above the line and be open to a solution. Because, relationships aren't always easy, yet they're the most meaningful things in our lives. With our family, with the people that we care about the most, with the people that we surround ourselves with. I mean, what do they say? That you are the 5 people that you surround yourself with. So, what fascinates me, what I've really been working on the last 5 or 6 years, is being truthful in my conversations. So this is one question I have for you. It's my own selfishness that's asking this question. Is, there's things that have bothered me that I've kept hidden in relationships in the past. And it's built up to a level of disconnection in the relationship. So what would you recommend? I mean, I'm really living it now more than ever. It's very uncomfortable for me to speak my truth about what isn't working, and to do it with respect and compassion. I really hold that space when I communicate what that is. And I always find it intriguing, the answers that come back, because it's way different than what I think it's going to be. It's easier and lighter. But how do you position that conversation, would you say?
Well, and one of the things that I suggest to folks is to say that, I've been thinking about this for a while, and I've been sort of hesitant because I don't really want I don't want to hurt your feelings or so on, but I really want to share this with you.
Oh, that's good.
And, and you can put in, you can put in the element of trust in there too. I'm grateful that that we have this trust in each other to be able to speak this way, to be honest with each other. And here's what it is, right?
Well, I'm doing it right then. I'm glad to hear that, Elizabeth.
That's not really your right way. It's
no, okay. I'm doing it well, I'll say. I won't say right and wrong. I've got the wrong word, but I'm thrilled because this truly has changed the relationships that I have. And they're much more intimate, they're much more meaningful and much closer. And I'm grateful for that. And I know it has taken my level of responsibility to take, to acknowledge within myself and have the courage and the bravery to share that. But my position always is, because I'm a love-inspired leader, I live this way, is to position in a place of respect and compassion. And that's what you're all about too. So I think that's wonderful. Now, tell me, what are the intentional rituals or mantras or questions that you rely on to bring clarity and courage when facing those uncomfortable conversations for yourself?
Well, I think I reflect on what I teach other people. And I say, okay, Elizabeth, if I'm going to teach other people this, then I better be doing it myself, right? Yes. And so the mantra on the back of my business card is step into your conversations with courage.
That's beautiful. I love this conversation, honestly. And I think we need to continue this on as a, step part 2, part 3, part 4, because
that would be awesome.
I know, seriously, I love it. And, to me, legacy is planted in the hearts we touch and the truths we dare to share. So, Elizabeth, your work reminds us all that communication, when rooted in that place of respect, compassion, and love, really becomes a bridge to healing ourselves and having that authentic connection with others, whether it be with our teenage or 20-somethings children, or in those corporate environments that, you want to stay connected to. And because when you're connected, you can be purposeful, you can be productive, you can be more innovative and creative. When the other is happening, it shuts down creativity and innovation. So I just want to thank you for coming on the Love Inspired Leadership podcast. And today I have a gift for the audience, my 21-day sacred insight journey of guiding you to deeper courage and clarity every single day with my above the line living, to live, lead, and love unapologetically with courage. Elizabeth, you might like that too.
Awesome.
Elizabeth, you have a network as well that people can connect with too, and some tools, correct?
Yes, I do. So the best way to get in contact with me, if you want to email me just to have conversation, is elizabeth@courageousnetwork.com. And I also have, both for families, 5 strategies of dedicated listening, and for people in workplaces, the 5 strategies of dedicated listening that are also on my website at www.courageousnetwork.com.
I love it. You sound so good there. That could have been on radio or something.
Yes, so, I think we're going to be on radio.
Yeah. Well, awesome. So to everyone listening, remember this, please. What matters is not just speaking, but sharing what's real with love and courage and conviction. This week, where can you let your heart lead a conversation that matters? Until next time, keep choosing truth, keep choosing love, and as always, aim high. Thank you. Thank you for joining me on the Love Inspired Leadership podcast. If today's episode stirred something in your soul, share it with someone who's ready to aim higher. Keep holding your vision, anchor in your truth, and take intentional, inspired action, because love is all there is.
Hey, I'm Michelle Abraham, founder of the High Vibe Podcast Network, and we are honored to have Carolyn Cooper's Love-Inspired Leadership show as part of our network family. For more inspiring shows like this one, visit highvibepodcastnetwork.com, and don't forget to grab your free gifts from our hosts in the gift folds. Till then, stay high vibe and keep sharing your life.